never felt I sounded good. And last year I said to my assistant, they was kidding, I finally figured out exactly how the opening of the Sibelius should be. I figured it out now. And he said, you said that last year. So, but I think now I have it all down exactly the way I want it to go. So first I'm going to hear you play it, and then I'll see if it's similar to what I have in mind. How much do they practice every day?
I don't know. About an hour. How much? Like a half hour every 3 days.
Depends on the day.
It depends.
Maybe you should do the minuet by Bach. Maybe you should just do the minuet by Bach. Any of you thinking of majoring in music? Or you're math or science? Or doctor? What are you thinking of?
You see, there's a lot of career paths to choose. Music is one. Music is one of the career paths that I could go through. Yeah.
Okay, but what are you good in at school? Are you very good in math?
Yeah, like STEM, physics,
science.
Yeah.
Are you on math teams and everything?
Oh, I don't do math team.
No. What do you do at school that's that makes you are you interested in music?
Yeah, I would say so.
Majoring.
I was thinking about doing a double major with another STEM.
That's what I was going to do. Too.
Okay, you too?
I plan on majoring in music.
All right,
as
so
well.
just to be, practical. I don't know if you've listened to the Indianapolis competition recently. The practicality of it is the instrument, violin, is one of the they say, most difficult things to accomplish because you're doing more things at one time than anything else. The bow hand is completely different from the left hand. To me, the pianos, I can't play chords or anything, but because I've been playing the violin since I was 5, it takes a lot of motor skill and a lot of practice. So to think about going to a school and majoring in music, you should be doing at least 3 or 4 hours a day. It takes that much to get that. But I'm so intrigued because you both play, it's a very difficult music, extremely difficult, and you do it quite well. But if you went to college, there would be so many things that they would go back that you can't be doing now. You can't be doing an hour of scales. You can't be doing Sevchik. And so I want to ask you another question. Let's go to a CIM or Oberlin. Let's not go to Juilliard. Let's go to NEC. And we go and we interview the kids. And we ask them all, every one of them, how much do you practice? So a couple of them will say 2 hours that they did when they were little. They forget that when they were 8, 9, and 10, their parents made them practice 3 hours. Why do they do it if they're so gifted and everything? Because you have to. So the fact that I'm very impressed with both of you when you tell my students practice 3 hours a day at least. I know they do because they couldn't get through the repertoire and memorize everything, and they know all the concertos before they do Sibelius. The next question is, so I just want to be practical because I want the parents to hear this. The competition is so keen, and if you go and you try to, let's say you get into Harvard, but you don't get into NEC or you don't get into the conservatory because your playing skill is not competitive with the others. So I think if you're thinking career path, maybe music, up your practicing. Do a lot of scales, a lot of etudes, there's a lot of things that go into it. I am quite old. I'm much older than I look even, I've been told. And I have a very heavy schedule of teaching. I teach 8 hours a day, but I practice between an hour and every day, or 2. I try to put in 2 hours a day, and sometimes 3, and sometimes more. But I can't because my hands are old too. I've made so much progress in the last year because I do it every single day. I don't miss a day. I just get up earlier. I have a girl, she just left about 2 hours ago. She gets up at 4 in the morning, does her practicing in the morning. So it's just so you know, so you're not disappointed all of a sudden, boy, I thought I was playing pretty well. I'm playing Sibelius concerto. End of the lecture. Now, very gifted. You're very gifted. I can tell that, both of you. Very gifted. Physically, you're gifted. Musically, you're gifted. A lot of good things. But then, there's more. You have to work on your vibrato, you've got to work on your intonation, you've got to work on certain skills. But let's just go to the music. And this is something I've been thinking about more and more. You know, we pick up the music, we try very hard to play emotionally, right? We want to make it sing. We want to make something happen. The more I practice, the more I realize is that the most important thing is to discover exactly what the composer wants you to do. Really discover it. And if you follow all the signs, you can be quite extraordinary before the motion gets into it. Because I feel like you're tightening up because you're trying so hard to be musical. But I feel instead of getting more musical, you're being a little tight. Whereas if you knew what you were doing exactly, let's take a look at this music. Play the opening again. I can make it a lot easier just by following everything the composer wrote. So let's hear the opening again. Okay, all right. Now, wrong. I'll tell you why. First of all, let me say good things first. I love the opening, your vibrato on the opening. It took me years and years before I discovered that kind of vibrato is what I want for the opening. I like the narrow, the little, I like that. I like very much what you're doing. That's good. It's very wonderful. Now, can you tell me what the composer wrote on the F here, underneath? What dynamic did he give you?
It's still mezzo forte.
He didn't give you any dynamic, but you made a big thing about it, right? Your feelings were right. You felt that the F needed more, right? So what you did was this. It's a very interesting. Then you did. So what you did was you took away from here, because you did it already. What if you did this? Now, I'm not taking away from your instinct was great. To play like this, it doesn't make any sense, does it? Your instincts told you to do something. Don't do so much. Just do it with a little vibrato, because he doesn't. You could raise your eyebrow if you want. Now he begins to develop. And then he writes crescendo. He's totally right. He wrote the piece. He knew. Don't do it too much here. Save it, because the line, in classical music, I mean, people get upset with me when I say it, but to be honest with you, classical music is very boring. It goes on and on. Have you ever gone to a concert and you know it's going to last, the symphony is going to last for over 40 minutes, and you really would love to take out your iPhone, and they told you're not allowed to, and I really want to play Bartle so badly because I'm so bored. But once in a while, I go and somebody plays, and I just like mesmerized. It doesn't happen enough. It doesn't happen enough. It's like a Heifetz that has a gorgeous sound, and the way he's standing on. I want to know, where is he going? He hasn't told the whole story yet. I'm not done yet. Now, well, I've been playing a lot longer than you, so you say, but actually you're quite good. You could come close to that if you only paid a little more attention to what was in the music. Will you do that again? And this time, raise your eyebrow and give me a little vibrato on this F. Don't just, because you have the musical feelings, your instinct was right. But don't do this, because then you do this, you keep doing it, I want to play Boggle. And then we, of course, the opening, the legato is magic. And that's something we're not going to get in one evening, but we can talk about it. If you can listen for legato, what did I do? What I told him. Go a little bit. Now, instead of going, why don't you raise your eyebrow? And give me a little vibrato. And save it. And then he's going, he wrote little crescendo, but we know that the line is going to the E. That's the top of the line. And then music is natural. It goes up and when it goes down, we get softer, unless the composer asks us to do something different. Okay, and then I'm going to skip and I'm going to show you other things. There's so much in the score that's can make a huge difference in your playing.
Beat it.
And just enjoy. Very nice. Now raise your arm. And to the front. Keep going to the E. To the frog. And then go to the frog here, even though it's a diminuendo, because then here, save your bone. And he doesn't give you a crescendo on this, but these are the important notes. I'm showing you how I could tell you something for every note. It's so amazing. Instead of you don't want to die out there, so save your bone. And I like what you did here. And now, not yet. And then that's going to be the high point. Save it and make everybody say, where is he going? What is he doing? What's happening? I'm very interested. Want to try the opening again? How does it feel? Did it feel better not making the big accent? Subtlety. Your violin up like this. Don't move. Maybe a flatter bow. Yes, don't move. You can move up and out, but don't do any of this. Keep it. I see too much of this. The Heifetz thing, he was right. Later on you can move a little bit. You don't have to be as still as him. But let it just, it's like silver, this sparkle there. Not too much. Now a little more, not too much. Stand still. Keep going. Save your bow, use it. Don't make crescendo yet. Now, he writes a crescendo. Now grow up to a forte. Now forte. Yeah, this is what's, he was a Finnish composer, Norwegian. They talk about the fjords and the ice and the whatever. Yeah, well, he writes, this is very different from Bach. He writes in something on every line. He has espressivo mezzo forte with a little crescendo and then a diminuendo. And then he has, again, a little crescendo, but then he has more crescendo to a forte. We haven't even gotten to the end of the third line. Now, let's skip ahead. There's a lot of things we can talk about. The time is getting up. I want to show you something. I didn't know about this. I did what you did. And many violinists do it. I mean, just because I tell you something doesn't mean you have to do it either. But it's interesting. Ben Bauman, my student, he pointed out, he was doing a MasterClass for me. The orchestra goes bum, bum. They don't wait here. But then a piacere, you have, that means at your pleasure, do what you want to do. It's a cadenza. You have time. But what I do is that now, because of what he said, I cheat a little bit. 1, 2, because the orchestra they don't care about you. One rehearsal, sometimes no rehearsals. 1, 2, that's what they do. And then, now, this is what the editor, Francis Gotti, wrote. He did this. But what Sibelius wrote in the score is this. Very interesting, very odd. when I do this. What instrument does that sound like? Anybody have an idea? Listen again. Sorry. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Any
Like
instrument?
an accordion or something?
Yes. Who said that? You said that. You know what the accordion is? The national instrument of Finland. Or Norway, I'm not sure what it is. I think Francis Gotti changed it, and maybe my student Rachel's right when she says she goes to the score and she first does what's in the score. He maybe what he was thinking. I'm not sure. I made it up because I found out that's the national instrument. I kept thinking that sounds like an accordion. Why would he do that? This is so odd. And then he writes velocity. We used to start slow. Well, he didn't want us to start slow. He wrote velocity, go fast. Now, Midori came to visit. She did a MasterClass. You know, you've heard of Midori? She's going to play concert on the 23rd. You should all go. But anyhow, she asked me, I love your the way you start this. Because I had my students starting up. She said, can I steal it from you? Midori stealing from me? Oh my God, that's quite an honor. I said, take it. I stole it already from Ilya Collar. One of my students studied with him, and he started, I love it. We avoid all those accents on the down bows. So this is a fascinating piece. And by the way, what I said, I think it's perfectly okay for you to practice a half an hour every 3 days. You're amazing.
I'm sorry,
you play
I made
so
that
well.
I made that joke, I'm sorry.
What is
Because
it?
he used to be like that.
How much do you practice now? An hour every day?
I try.
You try. If you say you try, it's like 5 days a week you practice an hour, and that's good. Then there's one day you don't do anything. Right? Yeah, that's the truth. Okay. So, but that's okay. I think it's wonderful. I think, how old are you?
17.
You're 17 years old, and you're playing the Sibelius concerto, and you're getting a big kick out of it. And and I'm telling you these things, and you understand. You know you're going to go home, and you're going to fix some of these things, and you're going to understand it. But we just have to be realistic. It's like, you think I'm going to be a ballet dancer or an online dancer? It's not going to happen. I know. I'd love to, but it's not going to happen. I can't even walk practically, so there's no chance that I'm going to be another. So and also, I cannot play the 17th Paganini Caprice because my hands are first of all, they're small to begin with. So that would never be, I don't know, and I can't practice stretching because the fingers are beginning to hurt. I have to be careful. I can only do so many hours a day. So because of what I'm limited to, I'm just realistic. I would love to be the next Heifetz, but I'm realistic. I know there are certain pieces I can't play because they're not from my hand, they're not from my ability now. But what I do play, I try to play great. That you can do. But it takes time. It just, it's not fair. If somebody else, Michael Rabin, practiced 6 hours every day and he sounded like Michael Rabin, but he put in those hours. If you want to go to music, you want to double major, you want to be even better. So put in the time if you love it, but only do it if you love it. If you put in an hour a day, it's you like it and don't love it. And then all the practicing you do should be with extreme pleasure. It's like, I can't wait to get to the violin. I just can't wait to go. And I can't wait to do these exercises because when I practice my thirds, and you can practice them, you can vibrate, and you practice making beautiful legato. Do all those things and do it with great pleasure. I just can't wait to get to the bottom. When I was your age, it wasn't different. There was a lot of other things I preferred to do, and I didn't practice my 4 or 5 hours a day. I did practice 2 hours at least, because I was forced to. But I wouldn't have done that either when my parents worked and they weren't home. I didn't. But if you're thinking about it, it's very competitive nowadays. When I was young, lived in a town of 100,000 people. There was only one other violinist there. Nobody played the violin. Now so many good players. So, I mean, there's so many. Very gifted, both of you, very gifted. You have very nice musical feeling. You need to put in a little bit more time for these concertos. These concertos are the hardest. Nothing gets more difficult musically than Sibelius and Tchaikovsky. And I think you could both play it very nicely. Sometimes your vibrato gets a little bit fast for me. You can practice. You have to do some slower vibrato exercises and listen, okay? But I love the way you do the opening. I love the first note. And in general, I think your instincts are really good. But there's so much stuff. I mean, as I say, the Tchaikovsky, I could spend a half a year on just the opening 2 lines. That's how it's complex. Now, I think instead of making them happy, I made them discouraged. No, not at all. Because I think it's great what they're doing, even if this is all they continue doing and they never do more. The fact that they can play this music, most people can't play twinkles, so that's great. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed with the time you put in that you play so well. Okay, next victim. We're doing cornhole?
Yes.
That's too hard for me.